year, new grind. I got a question for you. Are you living life, or is life living you? How bad do you want to be successful? Are you ready to level up in life? Are you ready to go to that next level? Are you sick of being average? I ask you again, are you living life, or is life living you? Less than unstoppable, the international world tour. Dr. Billy Alsbrooks, coming to a city near you. I'll be teaching a 4-hour, life-changing seminar on the art of greatness. Arise, champion. Every city will sell out. Get your tickets now. This year we're taking this thing global. 27 cities, Toronto, London, Paris, Rome. We're coming to impact 1 billion people. If you are serious about success, be at one of these events. Get your tickets now at blessedandunstoppable.com. My opponent is yesterday. And as a champion, I refuse to go to sleep until I'm better than I was yesterday. Grind, blood, sweat, and tears. All in. Those are the only credit cards accepted here. Grind, charge it to the grind. Blood, sweat, and tears. All in. Those are the only credit cards accepted here. Grind, charge it to the grind. You can't purchase greatness with Bitcoin. You gotta buy it in sweat. Work. You can't buy that championship with excuses. Your work ethic is your credit score. Blood, sweat, and tears. All in. Those are the only credit cards accepted here. Work. Charge it to the grind. I refuse to be outworked. And just in case you didn't hear me the first time, beast mode. I refuse to be outworked. The track, the court, the field, the weight room, the office, wherever I go, I dominate my space. See, my goal isn't just to win, it's to make my opponent quit. Where I'm from, the land of the champions, it's 4th and goal every play, every day. The scoreboard doesn't dictate how I play, my standard does. 24/7, 365, I'm a champion. You gotta understand, greatness is not an outcome. It's who you are. It's a lifestyle, a way of life, legacy. It's not a trophy. It's not an accolade. It's the way you think. Grind. It's a standard that you hold yourself to. My weapon is consistency. I can consistently outperform my opponent over and over and over, regardless of the circumstance. I don't take plays off. I don't take days off. Vacations are for losers, for the average, and I'm allergic to average. Average is the plague. I'm a workout warrior, grind, and I only have one level of effort, and that's all in. 120, all out, beast mode. I leave everything I got on the field. Come on, blood, sweat, and tears. All in. Those are the only credit cards accepted here. Hustle, charge it to the grind. I understand that success is a long-term game. Preach. It's a marathon to see who can last the longest. And you best believe, when it's all over, I will be the last one standing. My mind is wired for victory. My mindset makes me unstoppable. Quitting doesn't exist. Failure doesn't exist. I refuse to accept anything but absolute victory. I bought greatness on the practice court. So on game day, I come with my receipt. And best believe I'm gonna get what I paid for. I will not be denied what's mine. For a champion, greatness doesn't just apply to sports. It's life. In my relationships, I win just like I do on the field. In business, I win just like I do on the field. In my spiritual life, I win just like I do on the field. In my finances, I win just like I do on the field. And when I hit the classroom, grind, I hit them books like I hit them weights. Mediocrity is too dangerous, too deadly, too contagious to let it exist in any area of your life. You make a mistake when you think you can contain it to one area. It will bleed over into every area of your life until it controls you, till it dominates you. So when you see mediocrity, bang, you stomp it out, bang, you destroy it on the spot. You give it no place in your life. Make every area of your life congruent with being a champion. Champions don't need to run trick plays. They beat you all day with the basics. Blood, sweat, and tears. All in. Those are the only credit cards accepted here. Grind. Charge it to the grind. Blood, sweat, and tears. All in. Those are the only credit cards accepted here. Grind. Charge it to the grind. A lot of you out there got 7-figure appetites, but you got 3-figure work ethics. Preach. You want the Aston Martin, the Lamborghini, the Bugatti, the G6, that beachfront 30-room mansion, but you don't want to put in the grind that it takes to get it. You want to put your game in the microwave and in 1 or 2 minutes be Steph Curry, but that ain't the way it works. Greatness is still old school. You gotta put it in the iron oven. It's gotta go through the fire until it's purified, until it's pure perfection, 100% raw. Blood, sweat, and tears. All in. Those are the only credit cards accepted here. Grind. Charge it to the grind. Blood, sweat, and tears. All in. Those are the only credit cards accepted here. Grind. Charge it to the 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 grind. Blood, sweat, and tears. All in. Those are the only credit cards accepted here. Grind. Charge it to the grind. Champions don't need to run trick plays. They beat you all day with the basics. Let's close out with the word. Proverbs 22:29. Do you see a man skilled in his work? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before obscure men. I'm Billy Alsbrooks, blessed and unstoppable. To God be the glory. The deep end is where the living is. But you see, average people are too scared to shine the light, too self-conscious to be vulnerable. But it's from that place of vulnerability that you find greatness, that you find your identity, that you find power. The kind of power that it takes to change the world. The deep is where the living is. And if you want to taste the greatness, you gotta be willing to venture to the unknown, to that place that scares you. Stop tiptoeing into your destiny. Get out of that comfort zone and be all that God made you to be. Deep is where the living is. I want you to say this. No more surface level, lukewarm existence. Be yourself and make no apologies for it. Stop worrying about what you think are your insufficiencies, your so-called weaknesses, and everything that you think you lack. Set yourself on fire and dive into the deep. Cause the deep is where the living is. And it's time for you to rise and live life on your terms. Authenticity is your weapon. You can't go to the top worried about rejection. Be yourself and make no apologies for it. Make a declaration of your liberation. Boldly step out onto the stage of the world. Strip down naked and expose the real you. Grab the lighter fluid. Set yourself on fire and the world will come see you burn. See, the greats understand this. Their dream, it's not just work to them. It's a soulmate. Your calling is your spouse. The legends approach their craft with a different perspective. They're able to perform at a higher level because they attach their mind, body, and soul to what they're doing. Whether it's Beethoven on the piano, Steve Jobs changing the world with his iPhone, Einstein working a new algorithm, Elon Musk putting a Tesla on Mars. These guys aren't working, they're making love to their calling. They're married to the dream, and they speak to that dream in all 5 of the love languages. They go deep, and that dream of theirs responds. It opens up and procreates with them until they give birth to greatness. Muhammad Ali had a connection, an intimate relationship with every inch of the boxing ring. Awaken to what I'm telling you. Don't believe that voice in your head that says you are not qualified. Your passion and that fire will qualify you for any environment that you want to enter. Once you taste the anointed flame, you will never ever be the same. You have a calling, a gift on your life, and it's time that you go seize the moment. Dive into the deep, cause deep is where the living is. I said deep, deep, deep is where the living is. The thing you fear is just an illusion. It does not exist except in your mind. While the average live through their rituals, the greats create from a place of relationship. They own their emotions and refuse to run from who they are. Champions in every area of their life establish rapport. They're loyal to their dream. They understand that the foundation of any good marriage is fidelity. They believe in monogamy. One vision, one goal, one outcome. They don't cheat or have affairs with anything outside their calling. Their purpose is too great to be put in jeopardy by distractions, the devil's vortex. They stay focused on their love. Like an artist, they chisel their own David. They pick up the paintbrush and paint their own Mona Lisa through a perspective that empowers them, a mindset that allows them to conquer and slay any opposition that comes against their soulmate. Deep is where the living is. Fearless, pure innocence. They approach their craft at the deepest of the deep. They dive into the abyss and discover themselves. They reject all trends. They don't chase the fads. They don't worry about what other people are doing, saying, or thinking. They're getting high daily, overdosing on greatness, fiending to be the best version of themselves. Self-aware, anointed with purpose, unstoppable, aiming for the stars, cause they know all things are possible with God. Deep is where the living is. Don't let nothing stop you from going there. I'm Billy Alsbrooks, blessed and unstoppable. To God be the glory. Deep is where the living is. Deep is where the feeling is. Grab the lighter fluid and set yourself on fire, and they will come and see you burn.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We are actually live with a very special guest. I had a chance to really listen and really take in Billy's message this past weekend, and I got to bring my daughter with me. And bringing my daughter to an event like this, she's 11 years old. She wants to be inspired. She wants to be motivated. She's a lot like her dad in that regards. And it was just something special to share at such a powerful event. So I have with us a special guest, Dr. Billy Alsbrooks. Thank you so much for showing up to our podcast today, man.
Man, I appreciate it, bro. It's an honor to be here with you and getting a chance to share with your audience, man. I appreciate you having me on, man.
Absolutely, 100%. And I guess we're going to get into, kind of your entire story, even from the past all the way up, really into the future. But I guess,
okay,
there's a lot of people that are probably listening right now. They know who you are. Maybe they're followers of you. You have millions of them, as we know. But maybe they're just followers of myself and in my podcast and kind of my mission. And now's a chance, for you to kind of fill in the gaps, I guess, a little bit with who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into the future a little bit. So,
well, I put myself on, if there's a label, I put myself under a motivational artist. I used to think it was speaking, but that wasn't enough, man. I needed to bring the artistic side of me into my craft, man. So I remolded and reshaped the label, and I'm under that motivational artist category, man. What I like to do is combine from my past. I was in the music business, a music producer, songwriter for multi-gold platinum acts, and a music act myself that was on Billboard. I like to take the elements from that field, that creativity and rawness and authenticity, and bring it into motivation to inspire and impact others, man. And I use many different platforms and mediums to do that, right? Like I've written the book Blessed and Unstoppable, so we did it in the print format. And then we do the live events, like you were just mentioning. You came to the tour this weekend in Orlando, and then the other aspect is doing albums, motivational albums, which we stream out to YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube Music, all the streaming outlets, man. And I'm really in that place, man, where I'm loving what I'm doing, man. I'm really passionate about what I'm doing. I don't really even see it as work. It's work, but I don't consider it like work as doing something I don't love to do. I love this and can do it all day long, man. I just love what I do, man, and trying to make a difference out in the world.
And you can tell, Billy. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but you can tell with your art. Like you said, you're an artist, a motivational artist, and what an artist does is it tries different mediums. It tries different ways to be able to get their message out. And that's what we were just talking prior to going live. That's one of the major things that I appreciate you, for, many things, but the way that you deliver your message reaches the masses like you are going to do, and you are doing by the millions and soon to be billions.
Amen.
It's such a powerful way to go. Now, let me ask you, I guess, a question for the future. Okay. Where do you see it? Because YouTube was hot. It's still hot. You know it is. But now audio is kind of taking a different swing here. People are more apt to just get their earphones in, go on a workout. They don't want to look at a screen because they look at it all day. Where do you see audio?
Well, right now, I've put out 10 motivational albums, man, of the material. We brought everything that we did, like with the stream, like you're saying there, and modified it and repackaged it up in a way, if you go to the gym, maybe you don't want to use the data on the phone. Now, with the prices these days, maybe you just want to put it in your ear when you're out walking or riding, or can't look at your phone. You just want to hear it. So we package the albums up in that way, and I really see that's where it's going. That's why I bring in the music side of this into the motivational side, because I think there was, the motivation was kind of stagnant for years. It kind of just did the same thing. You'd have the speaker come up in the suit and, give that same spiel everywhere. And I just thought that there was more to that, and we needed to get deeper into the audience. We needed to bring the emotional side in a little bit more, the music side, and to make it more effective, to open the people up and really connect with their, not just their minds, and not just their hearts, but I want to go straight down to the DNA of the individual, and I want to change the structure of that, the genes, and not just theirs, but the generations after them. And we want to plant that in every single cell in their system, man. We want to impact them in that manner, man. So the easiest way to do that is music, man. Music is so influential. Words are so influential. The poet, the poetic side, which I'm a poet too, is being a songwriter. I want to combine all these elements into one, what we call complete work of art. I haven't got there. To me, I don't feel I've got all the way there yet. It's still in the transitioning. I started out just doing the motivation, then incorporated the ministry into the work that I was doing. Then I brought in the poetic, and now it's just making it seamless. I want it to be seamless where you really can't tell if I'm doing motivation, poetry, music, ministry, whatever it is. I want it to just flow and all be one complete body of work. that touches the individual on all levels, not just, the mind and the heart, but all levels of their existence, man. That's what I'm aiming for. And learning that craft and learning that how the elements balance out is the hard part, but I'm working on it every single day in order, to produce that.
Well, and I can definitely see that through your work, as I followed you for, quite a long time now, Sadi and the School of Champions, when she got that created, I've been following her for a while, and she turned me on to you. And that's just, really how it works in life. But then boom, I like to do two things at once. I like to be multitask. I like to mow the grass, listen to an audio book, even on 1.5, right, to get through the boring parts. But man, when I listen, I could listen to your YouTube like constantly all day long. You know what I mean? Like if you want to be motivated, you have this booming voice, and people have said this, right? Like you've gotten this a lot, in this powerful demand. Like, how is it that, I guess, a person like you, how can you transfer that much energy? Because I'm pretty curious to know that, because you got on stage and you spoke for 4 hours easy without stopping, and very powerful and very demanding. I mean, to where I was, and I'm an emotional guy anyway. So of course I'm on the verge of tears after everybody presents. But when you got up there, like it was like the bass was going by your house, and you're like, damn, like somebody's got the beat going. Where does, I guess, that come from? Where do you see that in the future? Because I'm seeing it more, but you are like on a whole new level.
Well, the anointing and the gift is not mine. It's all God. God just used me as a vessel to impact. And the way to be most effective is to submit to the creative forces that are coming through that God is trying to channel, and just get out of the way of that. The hardest part an artist has is just get out of the way of himself and let the divine that's on the inside of us, the creative power, just do what it wants to do. And that's the hard part. And my first year doing motivation, I got in the way sometimes. I was in my head doing the work and doing it, with the thinking aspect. But as I began to mature and grow in it, I started getting out of the way and saying, okay, God, do your thing. Because you know who I'm speaking to. Like when I go through to put a message out, let's say on YouTube or iTunes Music or whatever, I don't know the audience on the other side. I don't know exactly who's ever going to stumble onto this to find it. God does. So he knows the exact words, the exact cadence, the rhythms, the metrics, all that are needed and required to reach that individual. And if I'm trying to do it with my head, I'm going to mess it up because I don't know who I'm really, really speaking to. So I have to get out of the way. And that's the hardest part, is just getting out of the way and letting God do his thing. But let's see, I started in January 2017. Around 2018, I cut off all outside influences. Like you were at my seminar. I started listening to motivation maybe around 2010, 2011 on a regular basis. Now, I started out from the time I was 3 and 4 years old listening to motivation, because my mother and father growing up, they were in Amway. So they would take me to every motivational seminar convention in the world. I know. Yeah. And I would hear these big speakers. But when I was 3 or 4, they were pouring it in. But like me actually on my own choosing motivation, 2010, 2011, I started listening to, all the big greats and historical figures in motivation. But around 2018, I realized, this is an art. I woke up and realized it's not motivational speaking you're doing. This is motivational art. You've got to go deeper if you want to reach more people. Right. So, and then I approached it with the artist mindset, thinking back when I was a, musician. If we listen to a certain artist or a certain genre over and over, we tend to emulate it and become that which we're listening to. And, the artist eventually, if he wants to go to the next level, he's got to find himself. He can't just be a carbon copy of what he's listening to. So around 2018, man, I turned off every other speaker, every outside influence, and just said, okay, now I need to listen to the voice on the inside and let God speak through that, through the mic. And that's where I really began to change. And, some things would work, some things wouldn't. You have to experiment and you try different things, different styles and all this. And I would just, whatever was in me, that's what I would go with, man. And God would, pull the strings and put the elements together. And I give him all the glory for it, man.
Wow. That's powerful what you said, that, there's a lot of great people, and success and failure leave clues, as we know. But there's a lot of greats, like you said, that they turn off all those influences. They stop with things like social media, watching the news, negative influences. But you're right, in whether it's in business, in speaking, in ministry, I would imagine a lot of people, that are preaching on a regular basis, and artists would go through the same type of thing, because you're right. If you're following them, like, I mean, I raise my octave if I'm listening to your stuff a little bit. I'm getting a little bit more booming, and I'm slapping, you know what I mean? And I'm doing that. But you're right. I mean, you kind of emulate what you're consuming on a regular. So then you kind of separated. Is that when your creative side kind of took over, because you weren't hearing these other outside forces coming in? Is that when the creative juices really just started flowing and coming up with things then? Or?
Yeah. When I started doing this originally, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just having to trust God with every little piece he gave. He just gave me one small piece, and somebody needs to hear this. Like, a lot of people, they need to have it all figured out, right, before they take that step. And you're not ever going to do big things like that, because the big things take a lot of faith, and you're not going to be able to see the dark. You got to learn to own the dark, the things that you can't see, and keep moving forward. So I learned it the hard way, going through, as I mentioned at the event the other day, the panic attacks and PTSD. I learned to trust God with that. I couldn't see, right? So in 17, he would give me little bitty pieces, and I would just have to be a good steward of that one piece and trust him with that piece, and then he would reveal the next. So like when I started doing motivation, I didn't know where I was going out. I didn't think of doing a world tour. I didn't think of, even this book, to be honest. I thought, okay, I'm going to write a book that's going to sit on my shelf. I didn't see 31 countries, right? Like God had this planned out, but I had to trust him with it each step along the way. And 2018, it's starting to become clear and clear. Okay, this is an art form, and I don't think a lot of people understood motivation that way and saw it that way. And I wanted to change that. I'm saying, hey, what we do, if you look at the definition of art, it's an individual taking his truth, his authenticity, his viewpoint, and creating a piece of work in a way that stirs emotion in the individual that is looking at it, right? And changes them in some way, shape, or form. And I was like, well, that's what motivation is completely designed to do in the first place, because we are trying to stir emotion, or truth, or principle, or help. We're trying to stir that into the individual. So what is more artistic than what we are doing? I was like, the total art is this, to move people into different states. That's what this whole thing is designed to do in the first place, And I realized, okay, this is an art form. So as I began to gain more clarity, then the other things started to unfold. But, it's learning to take those steps when you don't see or don't understand where you're headed, but just you just trust God, you trust the process, and you just keep moving forward. And every time I've done that, those have been the times that I've made the biggest breakthroughs. The times that I had to figure it all out before I did something, those were little small breakthroughs that I made in my life, little small things. The cataclysmic, life-changing events that happened came when I don't know how I'm going to make this thing happen. We're just going to try it, right? We're just going to wing it. We're just going to step out there. And those were the ways, and those were the times, man, that God really showed up and showed out. Yeah, man.
Yeah, and that is so true, because I'm kind of a lot like what you're saying. I try to overanalyze. I try to have the answer for everything. And I guess everybody does to a certain extent with something.
Right.
But the minute that you just kind of let your hands off the wheel a little bit, and you just go and you just do what you do, that's when great things happen. Now, speaking of great things, okay, not only are you, an awesome author, obviously motivational speaker, to some really high performing, high class, maybe high society, high social economic, like you're actually going into professional sports teams, and you're inspiring them in super large companies worldwide. Okay. And doing this worldwide tour. I mean, you're really touching the masses. What's it like, I guess? Is it different motivating those people than motivating other people, or is it the same? Is it the same message? Is it the same reaction that you get? I was always curious, because
I think that the universal language is truth, no matter what room you walk in, right? Just be you, be authentic, be you, and you. As long as you're straight down the truth, you'll be welcome in every room that you walk into. You know, that's the protocol, is just being in your truth. You know, the struggle is accepting your truth and believing that it's enough. Which as you heard me tell at the event, that was my biggest struggle, was thinking, okay, my background coming out of the thug life and the rap life and all this, and now going into this corporate world, would they accept me, you know, for who I was? And I struggle with that. You know, I struggle like, am I good enough, or will they take this message from me? And maybe God put this gift in the wrong person, and all these kind of doubts that we have. Right. But he worked on me. God worked on me and said, man, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. The way I made you. You know, each one of us is strategically designed to minister, impact, affect whoever we've been called and assigned to. And what we see as deficiencies or inefficiencies or mistakes or weaknesses or whatever you want to call it, those are the very things that allow us to connect to other individuals if we frame it right. If you embrace those things, don't run from them. You know, the common person wants to hide the flaws, right? But to be effective in this business, we must expose the flaws. That's what separates the great speakers from those that aren't, is that they can expose the flaws and sit in them boldly and not run. You know, like the speakers that I listen to, it's not the ones that get up there, got the suit on and act as if they got it all together, man. I want to know the one that everything fell apart and he messed it all up, but somehow he came back. That's the one I want to listen to. Right. And I always say this: never take advice from anybody until they show you their scars. I want to see the scars. And then we know it's real. Like we know it's real. It's not like just somebody, you know, reading a personal development book and come back and regurgitating all that material on stage. I don't want to hear that, man. I want to hear real life, authentic stuff that I can connect to. And you know, ultimately what we're doing, no matter what environment we're walking into, we're showing the person themselves through us. Like my truth is your truth. When you really look at it, it's our truth together. And although we might be in different bodies, come from different backgrounds, different social classes, whatever, truth is truth. You know, when you get down to it, truth is truth. Right now, 100%. I might change the delivery going into a certain place, but I can never change my truth. You know, there's principles that no matter where you're at, apply. Like, you know, fire, truth, music, passion, vision, grind, standard. No matter where I go, those things are, you know, set in stone. But the delivery, maybe the approach when I go into an NFL team is a little different, maybe than a, you know, Fortune 500 insurance company, or, you know, whoever I'm speaking to doing therapy, addiction program, whatever. The approach might be a little different because I might use a different story to connect to them. It's my truth, though. I'm not like modifying my truth now. I'm just saying, what in my truth would they connect to? And I'm going to tell that. I'm not going to go make up something. I'm going to find the truth in me and then connect with them on that level.
And I guess, Billy, more of my question is not really what you change, but how do people take it? Because I've been around both, you know, I have clients that are super high level executives, and I got clients that are not, right? And, you know, I mean, look, there's some commonalities, there's some differences, but it's the people that follow through and try and give effort that are the best clients that I have. It doesn't matter at what level they are working with me. You know,
exactly.
Do you find that are there always the people that are the overachievers and always the people that are like the eye rollers, right? Like,
right.
I got to believe that, you know, coming from your eyes, there's always going to be those people, right?
Yeah, you're always going to have a balance of them. And it's just, you know, and a person, the old saying goes, you can lead a person to the water, but you can't make them drink, right? You know,
that's right.
But in our world, it's more like this. What makes us effective is the way we hold up the mirror. I can reach that person if I hold up the mirror in the perfect way that they can see themselves in what I'm saying.
That's right.
Whether they're the low end or the high end, the Yale or the street guy, if I can hold up the mirror just right in a way that they can see themselves, then we can connect. You know, and then when you do that, it's like in the old rap world I come from, we used to say, man, real recognize real. Like, it doesn't matter where you're from, real. They might say, man, you come from somewhere else, but you real. Like, and as long as you're that, usually you can connect with somebody because they understand, like, you're not coming here trying to be something you're not. And I, like I told you earlier, I struggle with that because in the beginning I thought, like, if I get on stage, I've got to metamorphosize into something that I'm not, and how am I ever going to sell that? You're never going to be able to sell that. That's the key. You're never going to be able to sell something that you're not.
That's 100%.
Right? They're gonna sniff you out real quick. You know, they'll say, something ain't right, you know, with that person. And in music, it was the same way, because we'd have, like, you know, being in the Thug Life Street Life, people come in and rap that way and would say, man, you ain't from this life. Like, you're saying all the right words, but I hear the music underneath what you're saying, and that music don't align. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the way it is in speaking too. If I come into a room and I'm trying to be something I'm not, they're gonna hear that music like, he's not from here. But if you just get comfortable in your own skin, man, that's the place you're always gonna be the most effective, man.
Yeah. Well, and you know, that authenticity, because you're absolutely right with that. And I'm laughing because I'm just listening to what you're saying, and I'm just like calculating both in business and in sports and in hanging out or around the girls growing up. Like, there's always that poser that says, oh yeah, well, you know, they all of a sudden they become they either love NASCAR all of a sudden, and they're a big racing NASCAR lover, you know, they wear their hat a certain way, but then next thing you know, they're a rap artist, you know, they know this and they know that, but the posers, if you will, that's it's fantastic that you say that, because you shouldn't change for those people. That's not what authenticity is. You may change your delivery, right? So that way, like you said, you can hold that mirror just right where they can actually see themselves, and then it's now you related, because that's just, such a powerful thing. I guess business owners and people that want to succeed, they just don't hold that mirror right enough in their message, do they? That's so powerful. Now, where do you see the future of all of this? Like, I know you got some pretty good goals that you're definitely going to achieve, but besides, impacting 1 billion or even 2 billion or even 3 billion people, worldwide, what else is on the horizon? I mean, are there other projects that you're going to be working on, or is it just more of this and, and better and more of an evolved version as well, or what?
Right now, I'm keeping my head down on the process, man. The God has put this dream in me, impact 1 billion. That's the goal one. And I've got to be a good steward of that 1 billion that he gives me. And then I can ask him for 2 or 3, as you mentioned. I got to be a good steward of that. And as I was mentioning before, being a good steward of what you do know, God will reveal the next thing. And to be honest, I don't know past that 1 billion and past what I'm doing right now. I've got my head right here and just trying to master this craft where I'm at. And then as that goes, he'll bring in the other piece. It seems like every time I move up a level in faith, and he brings that next piece, and I begin to say, oh, that makes sense now. Like, I didn't know why I was doing this, but now it's starting to make sense. And he's done this like so many steps along the way. I can't even count from the time I started doing motivation to now how many of those he's done, how many of those he's revealed to me. Like 40, 50, 60 major pieces that have come and that I didn't see, but I had to do something else in order for that to come along. And right now it's just really perfecting the seamless transition of all these different elements. Like as I mentioned earlier, the poetry, the music, the ministry, the motivation, personal development, psychology, philosophy, business, leadership, and bringing these all into one complete work of art. And I'm stepping into other platforms with it. I'm working on, I don't know if you can see, right? I'm going to lean the phone back, but right behind me, this Burning, as you see, that's the book I'm working on right now. It's a hybrid version of motivation and poetry and these elements all in one book, right?
Ooh,
nice. My first book was more geared around the laws of success, that unnegotiable, unchangeable laws of success, the 31 laws of success. This one is going to be more about the individual and how each individual taps into themselves. Like I want to know, like, what that person is going through, and I want to point them with this poetic design and the strategic way I'm gonna do the book. I'm gonna hold that mirror up and say, okay, like, these are my struggles, right? Like, I will do something poetic and say, this is a lifetime, life experience that I went through, something that was real. And then I want to point it back to them. When did this happen to you? And how could you take this situation like I did? How can you use it to propel you to that next level, or unlock the next level, or reveal something to you that you need in the pieces along your life? You know, and I want to attack the emotional side more in this book than the other one. This was more knowledge up here between the ears, being the I lost my headphone 1 second, but it's more the knowledge between the ears.
Yeah.
That would that's where that's focused. This is going to be more the, who are you?
Yeah.
Why are you? What do you want?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like a different level.
Now, are you gonna have the people interact? I guess
Yes,
with
yes.
the book. Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's powerful. Because
questions will take you wherever you want to go, right? So I'm gonna fill this thing, man, just 400 and something self-assessment, deep core, emotional shaking type material, man. There's gonna be no superficial. I'm not just trying to fill up a book to say I wrote a book. I'm not doing it to say I wrote a book, but I'm doing it to change the individual. And if that doesn't happen, then I failed. I don't care about the sales on it. I just want every person that reads that, man, when I read that right there, I had to stop. It messed my whole day up. You know what I mean? Like it shook me in the core, maybe question life. That's how I want to design this thing. And that's really the piece that I'm working on. You said the next, that's what I'm working on. And then of course I'm going to take this and then transfer it over into audio in some kind of way with the messages and the music, adding all that stuff to make it even more impactful for, some people don't read necessarily books, right? They're more listeners. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to bring that over in an audio format way, not just reading the book, but over, with the music and the art that way, and bringing them in that way. If I can't, get them on the reading side, we're going to get them on the audio side.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. And that's really where, as you were kind of walking us through a little bit earlier, that's why I asked about the future, because then I'm putting 2 and 2 together. I'm like, wow, this is just evolving into just such a powerful platform that has other tentacles, right? That they call them, right? With an octopus, you got different things going on. So if they don't get it here, they're going to maybe get it from here, because the world is changing. I mean, with these smartphones that we have, I mean, people are scrolling, they're looking, sometimes they don't even listen now. So they might not be on audio. Maybe not now they can actually see it. So that's really powerful. Well, I guess
let me speak on that. Let me speak on that real quick before you go to the next thing. The philosophy that I have, because I've been thinking a lot about this, the more humanity and mankind slides into the artificial illusion of the digital world, the more valuable the real world is going to be.
Yeah.
So like, if I can touch them with the truth, and if you weigh truth up on a digital illusion, truth is going to win out every single time.
100%.
Because like you said, when you scroll, it's a numbing thing, because there's no feeling in there. I don't know what it is, scientifically behind it, but there's no feeling there. But so when feeling comes along, man, it's going to rock them at a deeper and a different level, because all day long they've been numb, and all of a sudden now they get a taste. Yeah, now all of a sudden they get a taste of truth, in their own truth, and man, that's gonna really change situations. So I think actually a lot of people in my field are a little worried about where it's going, right? Thinking it's going to kill the business. In my eyes, I think it's only going to enhance it, because there's going every day there seems to be less and less real and more artificial, which makes the real more and more valuable, right? Supply and demand.
That's what I was just going to say, Billy, is that it's really going to weed out the posers and the people that are the artificial, right? The artificial people, or I forget the terms that people use out there, where they're pretending through life, right? You're right. The real is going to be real. But I think you said something that was interesting, because the digital world, because there's so much information out there, that you have to attract attention within a 3-second period. If you don't attract the attention within 3 seconds, the average person's going to continue that numbing scroll. So I guess for you, because you're powerful, you catch that attention, of that 3-second world. How do you do it? Why do you do it? What about it do you know? Because that's kind of like music. I mean, music, you can listen to like the first, 10, 15 seconds at the most.
And the song is there.
tonality, you don't have something
Right.
to catch, you're done. People go,
Right.
they'll tune the radio.
Right.
Can you speak on that a little bit, because you're a professional in this regards on both ends, a couple ends.
The first part, because people always reach out to me saying, okay, how do we build a following online or YouTube or whatever? I take them back 200-300 years with the wisdom that this evangelist John Wesley said. One time this guy came to him, and John Wesley was the founder of the Methodist Church, and he did revivals all over the United States, and people, wherever he went, they would just show up, thousands, right? And a guy asked him, how do you get these people to come? Like, how do you get everybody to come wherever you go? And his response was, set yourself on fire, right? The anointing, the passion that you have, set yourself on fire, and the world will come see you burn, right? So that 3, 5, 10 seconds you're talking about, I got to be burning. You see the name of the book, Burning, right? We got to burn, because if we burning, they gonna see it. It's like if somebody looks up in the sky and there's smoke, man, they want to find out, hey, where's that fire going on, right? We want to gravitate to that, and that's what it's all about, man. And the only way you can burn is do what you're super passionate about and can't live without, man. And most people aren't doing that. And as I mentioned at the seminar the other day on Sunday, most people have traded in their passion, their calling, that chance at being on fire. They've traded that in for the paycheck. The job, just over broke, right? It's like they didn't seek a way to express themselves and be more themselves. They sought a way to pay the rent. They went about it the opposite. Like, what you have to do is find out what sets you on fire, and then find a way. How do I take this fire that I have and package it in a way that adds value to the common person? Because money chases value. So how can I take this passion that I got and add value to it? So that 5 to 10 seconds you're talking about, you've got to be on fire when you speak. You got to be in your thing, and you've got to add value. You got to say, okay, what kind of value can I add this person? And here's another thing too. I don't believe everybody's called for every platform online. Like, some people are for podcasts, just audio. They're gifted in audio, and they're trying to do a visual. You're like, bro, like, you're not supposed to be on TV. You're supposed to be in the radio. And then some people on radio don't really sound good, but are amazing on television. So, like, you have to find whatever it is that, that God put in you, that gifting, and own that. And here's the problem. Most time we get up, if we don't know who we are, we get up and let the world tell us what we need to do. Like, you need to start a podcast, or you need to be on YouTube, or you need to do an album, right? Or you need to be a producer, or whatever it is. The world is telling us who we are instead of us listening to that voice on the inside. And I wrote a quote the other day that I said, I don't think anybody should spend a significant time on social media until they first identified and awoken to who they are. Because when you don't know who you are, you're much more susceptible to social media and the influences that be telling you who you are. And by doing that, being successful, we end up adopting false identities. And false identities are hard to shake and break and get out of.
Yeah.
Right now, social media, once you figure out who you are, what you are, why you are, what you want to accomplish, man, social media can pour lighter fluid on a dream like you've never seen, and we can reach the masses. But first, you need to be who you are. You know what I'm saying? You need to be you, and then figure out, how do I take me, my truth, and fit it, social media into my strategy. Most people are doing the opposite. They're saying, I got to be on social media, and they don't even know who they are. Like, you can all day, if you don't know who you are, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, people are not going to gather around uncertainty, no clarity. People don't gather around that, man. People gather around people who know where they're going in life and know what they want. That they become magnetic. So I think it's a different approach. Approaching social media with a different approach.
Yeah, I think it is, and I think you're right. I mean, I think that it's hard, look, you want to, you want to do it for business purposes. I've been on both sides. Like, all right, I gotta communicate this many times on social media. You get a marketing coach tell you, hey, do this, this, and this. And if you do this, this, and this, this is what your numbers will be. And you're like, okay, I got to go through, and then you're like, screw this. I'm doing what I want to do. Right.
Exactly.
And then, but you're right, though. The more that you shed the skin of what other people want you to be, and you start becoming what you want to be, and you start becoming you and being authentic, the shackles come off a little bit. And then you can you can really move in the direction that you want to. Now, you know, look, let's turn back time just a few minutes, if we will. You know, how did all this start? Because, you know, I got to believe that you didn't just wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and motivate people. You know, I know great people, usually it comes from a place of pain and maybe learning along the way, and maybe even some provoking moments. You know, how did you grow up? Where did you grow up? I mean, tell us a little bit about that story. How did you become the man that you are now?
I grew up in my high school years down in Fort Lauderdale, Miami there, where you're at, man. I grew up there, and my sophomore year, I got into rap and producing, songwriting, performing. And that was my life for the next 17 years, man. I stumbled onto that, man, and it was like, oh, boo, I found out who I am. I found a way to express myself, like, you know, being able to write and convey that to the people, man. It really resonated with me. You know, my mother and father were both musicians too. My dad was a studio musician, and he's actually in the Alabama Hall of Fame, being a studio musician. And my mother still teaches music today. She's got 50-something students, private, you know, coaching music and things like that. And my grandmother growing up, she had a music store for 26 years. Wow. And all my uncles and aunts taught at the music store. That's what we did. By the time I was 1 week old, I was in the music store. Man, so music was being poured in me in some kind of way. But when I got around my high school years, you know, I was playing band, I was doing music and experiment with different instruments. But my sophomore year, man, I found a microphone. That was okay, this is me. I woke up and said, oh, I can do this. And like when I say something on the mic, man, people listen. Like, okay, whoa, I discovered myself. You know what I mean? And for 17 years, I chased that world hard, man. The thug life, drug life, gang life, all of that, man. That was my market. That was the world that you know, I sat in the middle of. You know, it seems like that world, music and that lifestyle just overlap and collide, and it's kind of so blurry you can't tell where one starts and one ends in that lifestyle.
Right.
And you know, the thing was, I thought just like the common person does, I bought into, you know, if you get money, you get the nice house, you get the fast car, you get the fast women, all that, you'll be happy. Like the voids will all go away, and happiness will just, you know, shower down on you or rain down on you. And man, I found out that just isn't true. You know, it seemed like the bigger I got in the music world, because I began to thrive and climb and ascend up in that business, man. I went from, you know, just nothing to being on Billboard and then producing with gold and platinum mags, being on tour, you know, performing in front of 20,000 people, have my own radio show, #1 records, all this kind of stuff, man. And the higher I got in that world, the bigger the hole got. It was the opposite. It didn't fill the void. It created bigger voids. And then also, you know, I was seeking validation for those around me and looking for real relationships and connections without knowing that's what I was looking for. Looking back, right? Looking back. My entourage, as I got bigger, my entourage got bigger, right? But the people that were with me really weren't with me, if you know what I'm saying. They were there for what I was doing, engaged in. I always make this joke, man. Back in the day when I was in that world, my phone would ring 60, 70 times every single day with people saying, what time are we going to the club? Can you get me in tonight? Can you put me on the guest list? Can I ride in the limo with you? Like, it was, you know, that world is all, you know, just leeches, right? You know, just parasites and leeches, man, trying to see what they can get out of me. But the sad part about it was I really didn't mind. Like, I knew they weren't there for me, but I didn't like the alone time. I didn't like solitude. I didn't like silence, because every time it got silent, that meant I had to listen to something on the inside. And I started seeing that there were holes there, and I didn't want to address that. You know, like, we don't want to address the hard stuff. Let's just keep people around us. Let's just numb this stuff out. Let's just pretend it doesn't exist and suppress it down. And hopefully it'll all just work itself out, which it never does.
Right? Yeah, 100%.
And I chased that life, man, for 17 years until I had this life-changing event that sent me on a totally different, opposite trajectory. You know, in the end of 2007, my father got a stroke, and 12 days later after the stroke, I saw him die right in front of me. And that really, really just rocked my world. I started questioning life, why I was here, what did I want to do? I realized life was precious, you know, that one day there's going to be an ending to this thing. And I, you know, and being in the rap life, I had lost, 20 plus homies and friends in the business or in the gang life and street life, either to drugs, drive-bys, killings, whatever. But for some reason, I never thought that it was going to happen to me. Like, okay, man, it's bad. What happened to so-and-so? Well, I hang out with that guy every day. It could have just as easy been me, right? Like, and I would never put that together. I just kind of shove it in the back of my mind. But the way my daddy died right in front of me, man, I couldn't run from that no more. Like, it was right there. And man, that just changed everything. And from that point on, I was like, man, I gotta do something different. What I want to do with my life. I started asking myself better questions. Instead of like, what kind of rims do I want to buy? I started saying, what do I want my life to be about? What kind of legacy do I want to live? Instead of what kind of chain do I want to have on, right? What kind of Jordans do I want to buy? Man, who can I impact? Like the questions began to change, and so I was sent down a totally different trajectory, man. And at the end of
now, why does that happen, Billy? I mean, in your experience, I mean, you've helped out a lot of people in your career. You've seen a lot of people in your career do some fantastic stuff just due to your coaching, due to your motivation and inspiration. But why does it always take rock bottom to really rock somebody?
Because human nature, man, seeks being comfortable. You know what I mean? Human nature is let's seek comfort and let's play it safe, right? The self-defense mechanism that we have, the fight or flight, let's protect ourselves. It's still the old us in the jungle or the woods or whatever, trying to protect us from the world. Let's be in a safe, controlled environment that we know what could happen, and let's just stay right here in the safety. But greatness doesn't ever come out of comfort, man. What I say in the events and the seminars that I do, man, your success potential is always equivalent to the level that you're willing to be uneasy. If you want to be great, if you want to do something different, you got to get out of that box. You got to get out of that comfort zone, man. And sometimes it takes tragedy, trauma, trials, and tribulations in order to force us to that place that will make that decision and say, no more. No more. I want more out of life. I want to live. I want to squeeze something out of this existence and not just get by. Just being average is not enough. And this lifestyle that I don't like, that's everybody else's plan for my life, I don't want it anymore. I want to start to make my own decisions. I say this at the event. I say, how much of you is really you? Yeah. Like, because most of the time we're not doing our own thinking. Let's be real. We're not doing our own thinking, man. The TV tells us what kind of car to buy, right? Like, get the new Lincoln, get the new Tesla, get the new Mercedes. Right? They tell us what to buy. What kind of shoes are hot? What's hot now? Right. Oh, those are last season. You don't want those, right? Like, somebody tells us this stuff instead of us just saying, "Hold on, man. What do you want? Like, what do you want?" Forget what the trends are. Forget what the world is telling you, the newspapers, the CNN, and all that. What do you want? Yeah, I say this on one of my poetic songs. I say, how do we know our name? Because CNN told us so, man. Right. You know what I mean? Like, we've got to define us. It's time. And the trial that I went through there with my dad, it forced me into a corner where I had to, and maybe I wouldn't have done it any other way. And maybe that's the only way God could reach me. Like, okay, when that happened, it was like, okay, this is the opportunity, because he's not going to listen any other time. I was hard-headed.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, it's attention, right? Because I think that we all put up this identity with what we're doing in our life, who we're surrounding ourselves with, what we're associating with. Yes. And you do that enough times over and over and over again. Like you said, we're creatures of habit. We adapt, just the same as your body will adapt to food that you put. I mean, fill yourself full of burgers for, a month and a half. And then, let's go ahead and see what, it's like at the end, or salads, for the next 30 days, like, it is truly about what you're, are you really you, and that's such a powerful message. And I remember you saying that is, how much of you are you? Yeah. And it's really like, that's kind of crazy, because you put different hats on. I know as a dad, I did a different hat on. As a husband, I put a different hat on. Why? To be able to help, right? To be able to mold and be a chameleon. But you're right. The more that you're like something that you're not truly on a regular basis, the harder it is. And I think, exactly. Don't you think that's what stresses people out? Don't you think that's what really drives them and really gets them to a point of no return is that, that constant looking to be something else rather than themselves. Is that what you dealt with at that time?
Yeah, the stress and anxiety is really the gap between your soul knowing who you are and who you're being right now.
Yeah, 100%.
The stress and anxiety is that gap in between. And
That's
the further you're away from who you really are, the more that thing, because your soul trying to get you back to you. It's trying to say, like, what are you doing? Come back home. And it's like that rope trying to pull you. That's that tension. That's that stress. It's trying to bring you back home. And me going through that situation, God was trying to bring me back home. Say, man, you got so far away, you couldn't even, recognize that you were away. Like we get so far away from us, we start to believe that is us. Like we unlearn us and learn what the world's, saying about us and adopt those belief systems, adopt the values. The world told you you're worth this. Okay, well, I'm not worth much, and because the world told me I'm not worth much, and so I adopt that and accept that, and then that affects every other decision that I make. And it's not true. I'm making decisions off illusions. And this is why I say, get back to you and say, how much of me is me? How much of me is really me? And let's make a decision from me, the real you. Let's make decisions from that space and that place
you're right.
Instead of,
Because you said something that was quite interesting right there. You said that you're making decisions based off of a different version of you than really what is the true self. So here you are making a decision, and even if it's a good decision, you're still making it off of somebody that's not you, right? Exactly. So that's still going to send you in the direction that you may not want to go. You know what I mean? Ultimately
pull you away.
Now, how did you go? So obviously, you kind of had, a provoking moment in your life where you took a different direction. And I remember you talking about this. It wasn't like instant success. It wasn't millions of views on YouTube like it is now. It was a challenge for the next 18 months, right? I mean, after that, before things really started picking up, what happened there?
Well, my dad died in the end of 2007, and before I started doing motivation, it was almost a decade between when he died and when I started. As soon as he died, I developed PTSD and panic attacks from the way he died, like unexpectedly in front of me. As I said earlier, our human nature tries to protect us. My mind began to take over because losing my dad the way I did, unexpected the way I did, it freaked my mind out. And it was like, I got to protect you from what happened to Dad. I got to make sure this doesn't happen to you. And I started having these panic attacks every day, man. It went from, having one panic attack a day to 2 panic attacks a day to 4 a day to the whole day, either having one or anticipating having one. And that became my life for 7 years. I went from being on stage in front of 20,000 people, rocking the mic, to being locked up in a room 2 weeks at a time, scared to come out because, the only thing I controlled when I had a panic attack was where I had it. So if I stayed at home, then I just had it in a comfortable place. I wanted to have it at home. And it took 7-something years, man, for me to come out of that. I reached out to God about 5 years in and said, hey, I've tried everything I can do. This ain't working. So let me give you the keys. And, you heal me, right? And he did. He honored that. He'd been waiting on me for years to come. And finally, like you said before, I did rock bottom myself before I reached out. And finally, when I got to that point, he honored and showed up. And it took 2.5 years from that point, from my prayer and for him when he intervened. It took 2.5 years for me to start to gain back full function. Like it wasn't overnight, like boom, I'm healthy. I had to learn how to get my life back. Yeah. And then once I got it back, now it's been almost 10 years. We moved up on 2017. I got to God and I'm like, okay, when my dad died, I started thinking about, okay, how can I make a difference? How can I leave a legacy? How can I leave this world better than I found it? What am I called to do? In 2017, God began to move the pieces and show me my true identity, not the one that I had adopted. Now, see, here's sometimes what we do. We have success in an area and we confuse that with our calling, right? We think that's our calling. I was close to my calling when I was doing music. I was, writing. I was producing, I was recording, I was on stage performing, I was behind the mic. I was really close. Therefore, I had success because the closer you get to your true calling, the more successful you're going to be. So I was very close. I was in position. I just had the wrong mindset and the wrong material with the wrong objective behind it. Right? Like I was being used as a tool of destruction for the community, pushing drug violence and all that, pimping and all that kind of stuff. Right? I was being a tool of destruction, and then God had to bring me back and say, "Hold on, you were in the right place, but your topics was wrong, your mindset was wrong, your mission was wrong. Let me show you." So He turned that around into impact and construction, building up people, building up communities, nations, and the globe. And once I understood that, I started on motivation in 2017, and He put the big dreams in me.
Yeah.
And I got a little, because it'd been 10 years, right, since I'd been doing something, and man, I wanted it back. I wanted everything I'd lost in 10 years. I wanted it back in 10 days, right? And it just didn't happen that way, man. And I was doing these videos on YouTube. I started in 2017, putting them out once every week, Sunday, Monday, whatever, dropping the videos. And I get to about April, May, and I'm looking up, and I'm like, man, I got a grand total of 50 subscribers, bro. 50, right? And it's like, what are we doing here? And most of those 50, as I always think about, that's mom and the fam. You know what I mean? It wasn't even real me. It was just family, So, man, I got very, very discouraged, frustrated, like we do, impatient, angry at myself, beat myself up, and got really, really close, man, to throwing in the white towel. I'm not gonna lie, man. I was at the crossroads of just saying this ain't working. I'm just gonna give up on a dream, go get a 9-to-5, be like everybody else, because they're all telling me, why am I crazy anyway? Why don't you just come home and be like us, comfortable? It's really comfortable over here.
Right.
And I got to that point where I was at the crossroad, and one night I went into my studio just frustrated, about to quit. And I knew I had to get control of myself, man. I knew, like, if I don't get control of my mind right now, I am done. Like, this is where I was at. So I put on some music in my studio, got in front of the mic, and originally my intent wasn't to put that message out on YouTube for other people. And nobody was listening anyway. It was just 50 views. It was really just for me. Like, I just want to get in here and record something that I can play every day to remind me of who I am, right? So I go in there and put the music on, man, and all of a sudden I just let my spirit talk. I said, I was born a champion, raised a champion. I got champion in my bloodline. All I ever be is a champion. So I started saying all this to remind myself of who I was before all the trauma and the life had been robbed from me, right, the last 10 years. So I had to remind myself back to my true identity. Remember, like, how much of you is really you? Okay, I'm losing for 10 years. I'm thinking I'm a loser, right? Everybody's telling me, man, all the good days are gone. I'm buying into that identity. And I had to, before I could qualify for the next season, I had to let go of the last season and let go of the illusions and the false identities. You can't go through the door of greatness wearing a false identity. The door is too narrow. The only way you can go through that door is be only you. If you have anything of anybody else or anything of other ideas, you're not gonna fit through that door. And I had to let it go. And I got in front of that mic and put that message out on Monday, like I always do. Didn't think nothing about it. 50 subscribers getting the message. But all of a sudden, man, a week or two later, a guy reached out to me who had a big motivational channel. He's like, man, I love that. I want to put that out on my channel. And this guy had a lot of followers. So I gave him permission. He put it out. The thing went viral. Boom.
Wow. Man,
and all of a sudden the dream became my reality, man. The book I had written in 16 before I even started speaking. Remember I said like how you have to trust God. When I wrote this book, there was no tour, there was no speaking, there was no YouTube, no nothing. I just trusted God. He put it in my spirit. Write the book. Trust me with it. Okay. But I didn't have no publisher, nothing. I put it out myself. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. It don't matter because I trust God. Right. I put it out. Now 17 comes along. I've obeyed. So when the video jumps off, boom, this thing goes to 31 countries and basically was the financial support to launch everything else. Like, if I hadn't done this, I wouldn't have had the system to do it. So, man, after that, the videos took off, man. The following started coming. The book started selling. The phone started ringing. As I told you in the event, people started calling the book and man, we here today.
That's awesome. Wow, what a fantastic story, man. I mean, it's just good. Yeah, brother. I mean, you're good as well. So you're definitely being a good vessel. That's for darn sure. Well, I do have, 2 questions before you go. Okay. And I think that, I ask all of our guests, the same question, and I got to ask you for both business people out there, entrepreneurs, maybe even artists out there, because you're an artist, you can definitely relate to them. Somebody that's really trying to go to that next level, right, with their passion. Mm-hmm. But also individuals, okay? People that, maybe they're not there yet, and maybe they just want to really just pick themselves up off the ground. What is that one piece of advice for you to have for those two different types of people, I suppose? And it could be the same advice. A lot of people do that as well. What would be that piece of advice for those?
I would say there's two things you can do that will immediately change the trajectory and set things in motion. As I told you earlier, questions will take you wherever you want to go. You just got to ask the right questions. And successful people just ask themselves better questions, personal questions. The inner dialogue is better, right? Yeah. Champions have better inner dialogue going on than the common person. Like the common person, something happens to them, a trauma or something, and their question is, why did this happen to me? Why me, right? Like the self-defeating type of questions that lock you and bond you and keep you in chains. Like, why did my dad have to die in front of me? Like these kind of questions kept me in bondage for 7 years, man. And I didn't come out of it until I started asking better questions. Like, okay, what can I learn from this situation right here to make me a more effective warrior and champion and propel me to the next level? Like I started asking better questions. So whatever you're going through, there's a question that will unlock the answer and the door that you need to do to get out of it. You just got to say, what is that question? And one thing across the board, like you were saying with entrepreneurs or people going, the one question I would start with is, how do I want to live? Like really live. And there's a difference between getting by, going through the motions and all of that, than actually living. And if you've heard the commercial for my event, I say, are you living life or is life living you? Yeah. Right. And that's the question. Like once you start asking these questions, man, you can't be the same. Like, and the devil can't hold you at the same level when you've asked a higher level question. Somebody needs to hear that. When you start asking higher level questions, you disqualify yourself from that low level living. Yeah. You begin to ascend as you begin to ask better questions. You begin to climb that ladder because your mind will seek to find the answer. Right. So you got to ask better questions and set the objective. And then the second part of that is getting a vision for what you want in life. Like if you're going through sickness, you've got to have a vision for healing. You got to see your body. You got to see everything returning back to the full functioning state which God intended for it to be. If you're going through financial troubles, you've got to see abundance or you're not coming out of that. Right? Yeah. If it's a marriage you need restored, you need to see that marriage coming back to the honeymoon state, man, and you being connected with that other person who's special to you. You got to get here first. See, our life comes directly off the assembly line of our mind. Right, our mind is the factory that produces our life. And I always ask everybody, "What's your product? What you producing?" Right. So getting the questions right, asking the right questions. Because when my dad died, I said, "Okay, hold on. What do I want to make this life about? What do I want my legacy to be? How can I make an impact?" I started asking these questions, and those questions led to clarity, which gave way to vision. Right. So it's questions lead and give birth to a vision. And once you have that vision, then you become magnetic. Because on the inside, all of a sudden, when you know what you want in life and you can see who you are, you become consolidated and you become magnetic. And that magnetism will attract and bring things into orbit around you. The people that are needed and required to build your victory or your vision or your business or whatever it is will begin to move towards you. And when they do, those opportunities will come, the doors will open, and it all starts though with here. Yeah, you got to have the vision. So 100%. Questions and vision, those are two things. I don't care what the situation is, they will apply. That's the universal principle that you can't get away from. No matter what your situation is, those two things can immediately begin to impact your life.
Wow, that's so fantastic, and you're absolutely right. I mean, that will retrofit to everybody that's listening. That's right. Ask better questions. And what do you want it to be? Like, what is your vision?
Right. That's
right. You're right. Like if it's crazy to think about, but if you think about being sick, you're going to become sick. If you're thinking about bad, there's going to be bad. But if you're constantly thinking of good from an abundance mindset, you're absolutely right. I mean, that law of attraction is very, very powerful. 100%.
Yeah, but another thing too, that'll unlock, because a lot of things as far as breakthroughs require energy. Like without the energy, you can't make the breakthrough in life. So let's get back to what causes energy. A good question that you can begin to ask that will unlock every area of your life, not just business or whatever. But once you ask that, it'll affect everything else because your energy changes. Ask this question: what sets me on fire? What am I passionate about in life? What, when I do it, does my whole energy change? And where do I feel that I'm more powerful when I'm doing this or that? Find out what that is and pay attention to your energy. Right. And when you find something that lights you up and you get more excitement or enthusiasm, pay attention, because that's a clue. And wherever you're getting that kind of energy, you need to build your life around it in a way that you can do it more often. Because once that energy is churning, all of a sudden it's going to start burning away and kicking away things that don't belong in your life. That fire will burn away everything that doesn't belong in your life till all that is left is your greatness, man. So it's very important to find that energy and plant your feet in the things that, make you alive, that make you feel good. That's what life's about, man. We don't, most people are just lukewarm. They're not hot, they're not cold. They're doing a job. They don't hate the job, but they don't love it either.
Right.
And that's the worst place to be, because if you hate something, you're like, no more, man, I'm done with this. Right. But if you like it, you're not going to change, of course. That lukewarm spot is, I don't hate it enough to come in tomorrow and give them my 2 weeks notice, but I don't love it enough really to stay here for 20 more years, or do I? Because it keeps you in that state of inaction.
And not even give that effort though, too, right? Yeah. Because, I would imagine for you whether you're cutting an album at home and you're in your studio or even on stage, I got to believe the stage you probably love better just because of energy, because you're absorbing energy from other people. But I'd imagine 4 hours goes by like an hour for you because you just absolutely love it. Right. And I know that for me, when I'm on stage or when I'm doing videos or doing content or coaching, right, or training or developing, like all of a sudden before you know it, I'm like, whoa, what time is it? Like the whole day flies by. And, the old timers always say, get a job that you absolutely love and then it's not work anymore, or they say it, something like that, and that's such a powerful statement, man. Wow. Well, listen, I could talk to you all day long, and I know that everybody could listen all day long. So we definitely got to do a part 2 of this.
I'm with it.
Where can people find you? Website, I mean, obviously on YouTube. Can you kind of give them where to really find you the best?
Okay, I got 2 things. The major hub for my online presence, blessedandunstoppable.com. And from that place, you can get the books, you can get the albums, it'll take you to YouTube and all my other sources, and the merch, the clothes and all that. And the other thing, if you're on social media, I've got the same address everywhere, at Billy Alsbrooks. You can get that Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everything is at Billy Alsbrooks. Very simple, just my name, and you can find me. You can Google that name and all of that should pop right up.
Oh yeah. And it's real easy. I mean, you're all over the place. I mean, millions and millions of views. I mean, wow, your albums are awesome. I mean, thank you so much for coming in and just, kind of talking shop a little bit and motivation. I just absolutely love, you coming on the show today, and I'll have you stick around here for a minute. We'll let everybody else off. Everybody, if you love this episode, which I know you did, share it, send it, like it. Of course, go ahead and do a review. Remember, always positive change in people and your peak performance as well. Billy, thank you so much for being on.
Tell them to get the book. Blessed and Unstoppable.
That's right. Get that book.
Ain't got it. Get it. It'll change your life. It'll change your life. Thank you, man.
Blessed and unstoppable. Success starts with putting the right things into your mind. And my new book, Blessed and Unstoppable, was strategically designed to align your mind with the laws of success. This curriculum will teach you the inner mechanics required to go from average to phenomenal, from living a life with limits to being blessed and unstoppable. As you follow this guide step by step, amazing breakthroughs will happen. New doors of opportunity will open, and favor will begin to chase you down. Blessed and Unstoppable is a 31-day devotional on the laws of success. This book will instigate the thought process and actions required to transform your life. Each day has a Bible verse, a teaching on that day's principle, a positive affirmation, a prayer for the day, self-assessment questions, success quotes, action steps, and a powerful inspirational message. Regardless of what field you're in, Blessed and Unstoppable is your blueprint for success. Get your copy at blessedandunstoppable.com. Also available on Amazon. The struggle is real, but you know you were meant for more. That dream that's on the inside of you just won't shut up, 'cause you know you were meant for more. You've always been different. They never understood you. They've always doubted you, 'cause you're different. But you know something that they don't know. You know, to be successful, you cannot follow the masses. You gotta be different. And you are bold enough to be you. You've always been different. Success ain't for everybody. B7U Clothing. Wear your identity.